I will be forever the myth.
You're the king of kings,
There's always a pecking order. The little peckers never mess with the big pecker. So I'm a rooster, and he's a chicken, so to speak.
All right, welcome back to the Bodybuilding Legends Show, and I have two very special guests with me today. We are going to do a tribute show to Mike Quinn, who just passed away. So first of all, we have Neal Spruce. Neal was a training partner of Mike, a good friend of Mike back in the early 90s. He ran the nutrition analysis program over at Gold's Gym in Venice, California. And we also have Rick Valente. Rick was also another really close friend of Mike's. Another training partner of Mike, good friend of Mike's, and he helped him with his posing routines. So Welcome to the show, guys. I appreciate you guys being here.
Hey, thank you.
On here, yeah. Great moment for all of us.
Yeah.
Yes. This is all about Mike Quinn. And listen, love and respect, man. That's exactly what he deserves.
Yeah.
He was if you trained with him, which Neal did, and Neal was great because he hooked him up with better supplements, better nutrition, and he got ripped. And he looked amazing. And for a lot of guys, when they get ripped, they lose a lot of muscle size.
Mm-hmm.
But working with Neal, he kept his muscle size.
Yeah.
And he trained like an animal. Anybody who ever trained with him knows you did force reps. You went heavy as hell. I mean, he was an animal.
Yeah.
And he was a stud, man. Some people feared him because he was just a tough guy.
Yeah.
He really was.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do the show about Mike.
He was nicknamed Animal for a while, too.
That's right. That's right. We used to call him that.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why I wanted to do the show about Mike, because I didn't know Mike back then like you guys did, but I was a bodybuilder in Chicago, and I always admired Mike. Even though he never won a pro show, he had a great physique. It was very inspirational. It was a very powerful physique. His posing routines were amazing. I mean, he was a fun guy to watch. He brought a lot of energy to the sport, and you never knew what you're going to get when you saw him. I mean, you would never want to leave the auditorium if he came out to pose, you know.
Yeah,
he was very popular. He was one of the most popular bodybuilders in the 1980s.
He loved to pose. And when I started working with him, I made him go into the posing room, and we would hold every mandatory pose, and I would time it for 1 minute. It's very challenging, and he would be screaming and swearing. But when you did that, you would be the first one in the pose. You wouldn't be shaking at all, and you would be the last one out of it.
Right.
And then we went into his posing routine, and I worked with him on just starting each pose with his fingers. You open your hands and you close them. And then I got him to do ground stuff where he went down and, all kinds of stuff.
Coming. An extra in the movies from Playa del Rey, California, massive Michael Quinn.
blast, man. I really loved working with him and helping him with his routine. Then we played with some rock and roll music because he was the guy. And he loved putting on rock and roll music. He would say things to the audience and they would cheer him, clap their hands. I mean,
right.
Yeah, there's very few posing routines like that now.
Right.
Well,
the posing's terrible now.
Yeah. The testimonial to that, though, Rick, is when he competed, and it was the 90 Olympia, right, John, where he came in like 15th or something.
Yeah, the one that was drug tested.
Yeah, exactly. It was the first drug tested one ever.
Yeah.
Right. And so he really slid back compared to, I think he came in 6th in the first one before that.
Right. You're right.
He slid back to that. But the posing, it brought the house down.
Yeah.
Yes.
It brought the house down. You thought he won the show.
Right.
You literally thought he won the show. Everyone thought that. They go, oh, this is it. I mean, this doesn't get any better. So
USA champion, Mike Quinn.
this was kind of like a comeback year for me after last year was a bad year, and I think I'm still trying to regroup more or less, But basically this year was to pass the drug test and show the public that, I'm a champion. There's no doubt about it because, I passed the test, I'm not on steroids, and I'm here competing in the Mr. Olympia as one of the best in the world. And I think that was enough to show that I am a champion. That was the number one step. Now the number two step is, training naturally and, not using them anymore and building up your plateaus till you are like really good again, So it's going to be a transitional thing, but I think we have to show the public that we are champions.
The show I got him ready for, he won, and we went to Vegas and partied. And I
that was the USA, right?
Yeah, we had so much fun, man.
Yeah.
I miss him. It breaks my heart that he's passed. I don't want to hurt.
Yeah, for sure. All of us. Yeah.
Neal, how did you first meet Mike? What year did you first meet?
Well, what's so funny? I knew that question was going to be asked to me. And I'm sitting here going, shut up.
What year was
I can actually listen, and I don't forget anything. That's what's so weird. But it must have been an unremarkable moment because we competed together. In fact, in the USA that he won, was that 86?
87.
87, right. 87, right. That's when I slid all the way back. Listen, after being second and third, here I am all the way back, in the seventh or something like that. And I think we met. That was probably the time we met. And then I'm just guessing it was. And then there was another time in Venice that part I remember when we were in Venice together. And because he was coming back out every once in a while, we'd come from the East Coast out there to work out. And then we just kind of hit it off just because, and again, we can say this here, I grew up an outlaw, and so outlaws know outlaws. And there's a connection between you. And listen, I did grow out of it to a certain extent. My wife will tell you I haven't yet. But, but when you grow up, and for me, it was motorcycle gangs. Devil's Henchmen was our group out of San Carlos, south of San Francisco. And so it was just, and you have that same vibe as someone, and so and next thing you know, you're not talking about that stuff, but you're just connected somehow, somewhere. And that's how Mike and I connected.
Yeah.
It is funny how certain people who grew up together, very similar, because I grew up the same way you did, Neal. There were several motorcycle clubs around our place, the Huns, all kinds of bikers.
Yeah.
And when you were a little kid and you were standing outside and you saw 25 Harleys go by straight pipes, you were shocked. And they would pull by really fast and shift, and you'd be, wow. That's why at 10 years old, you got a mini bike. we all did stuff like that. And Mike and I clicked the same reason why Neal and him clicked, because we kind of grew up together.
Yeah.
And very similar. And when you meet people like that, you click. And what happens is you have respect for each other. And when you really become friends, he would do anything for me.
Absolutely.
Anything I needed, he would do for me. Anything he needed, I would do for him.
Yeah.
And that's what real friendship is all about.
And he did stuff for me I didn't even want him to do.
Yeah. No, he would. He really would. And I tell you what, he helped out a lot of people in Florida, all over the place, for free who wanted to train.
Yeah.
And that's why, what? I'm so grateful we're giving him love and respect because he deserves it. Yeah. And I know his sister. I was with him when his younger sister passed away. It broke his heart. It really did.
That was really devastating for him, right?
Yeah.
And now, his other sister is trying to raise a little money to pay for his funeral. And so, it's on Facebook. It's all over the place. I know a lot of people don't have a lot of money, but please just give $10 if you can.
Yeah.
Try to help her pay for the funeral and do a really nice one and buy him a beautiful stone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you really want a beautiful stone, it's going to cost you $10,000.
Yeah.
Let's face it. So anybody who respected and liked him, anything you may have, $10, $20, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Show him the love and respect he deserves. Because like I said before, when we all leave this earth, what people are going to talk about and say about you is how they felt being around you.
when you were here. Yeah.
Energy was really cool and funny. And when you walked away, they were laughing and go, I love that dude. You know, if you were an asshole and you were talking shit to them, when you walked away, they were saying, fuck you.
Right.
So, and so many people in today's world are so full of anxiety because the world is upside down. Nothing makes any common sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, you know, old school guys like us, we look at the stuff that's going on and we go, I don't understand it.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. The thing
no
that
one understood, that the generation above us didn't understand us. So, you know, that's just the way the world. You got to deal with it, let it flow. It is what it is. And I made this comment to Rick the other day on the phone. Hey, because I lecture to all kids. I mean, they're all in their 20s, the young fitness professionals of the world, the next generation that's replacing all the ones that we grew up. And I lecture and I pass on whatever wisdom I can. And I always tell them, hey, the world has changed and I really don't belong in it anymore. But I'm going to give it to you because you do. And this is how you're going to navigate these waters and the whole rest of it there.
I just wish this new generation would show a little more respect for older people. When I grew up, my father insisted, you respect older people.
Right, right.
And this new generation just seems different. They don't even respect their parents.
They kind of make fun of people that are older. I'm like, what do you think's going to happen to you?
I know. I see that all the time when they post pictures of older actors.
Yeah.
And they show a young picture when they were 20, 25, and then they show a picture when they were 65, 70. Hey, we all age.
Right.
Listen, I understand. I did all kinds of modeling, looked in the mirror. I used to go like this. I'm 65 now. You know what?
Yeah.
I look in the mirror and I go, whoa. So I understand. Listen, but how we respond to all of this is so very important.
Yeah.
We lost so many friends in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I study human behavior a lot because I have to. And I understand that how we respond to that. So what I do is I have pictures of a lot of the friends that I lost, and I see them every day. And I tap myself on the shoulder and I say, I'm going to enjoy today and get the most out of it.
Yeah.
And it makes me challenge myself to be grateful I'm alive and try to enjoy every day. Because everybody who's listening to this, everybody you see is leaving this earth too. None of us live forever.
Right.
So try to find a new hobby, try to find a passion that makes you happy. Because the real goal is, are you happy?
Yeah, true.
Of course. Yeah.
So Mike had this, for people who didn't know him, he had this reputation as this wild man. Like you said, Rick, he was kind of intimidating. If you didn't know him, you might even be afraid to go up to him. But you guys got to know him on a personal level. Neal, he lived with you for over a year. So tell us a little bit about what his personality was like. Obviously, he was very intense in the gym, but there was another side to him too.
Yeah. For me, when he, the time we spent together a lot, right? Obviously, you know, living together and so forth. He was always there, and he was a little brother. You know, me being older, he did look up to me as sort of a mentor in many different ways. You know, even because again, I'm a guy that grew up with no parents, so I would parented myself growing up. So he always looked at and kind of admired me for just, you know, what was going on there. So I was able to help him in that way. But the part about him, so he was different around me completely.
Okay.
There was never a time he had this different kind of respect for me than you would if you didn't know me or whatever. He just wanted to really please me in every single way. And he wanted to please my wife, you know, who allowed him to live there, you know, which was a difficult conversation when he was getting ready to, I got to tell you, she goes, no, there's no way that guy's living here. Because she knew he was a wild guy and everything else. And I go, listen, we're going to train together. He's going to get ready for the Olympia and all that. And listen, I'm at the end of my bodybuilding career, so let's have fun. She goes, okay. So she finally put it up there. But I will tell you, in that moment, in that time, he protected her like he would protect me. It's like a son protecting a dad or a son protecting his mom, you know, a full-grown son. Just being, you know, I'm younger, stronger, and everything's going to go right. And that was the thing that you would recognize immediately. I mean, because we would go out together, and we would go out to a bar together, Mike and I, this is, you know, before he's, you know, in his diet mode and all that. We go like we went to Lyle Alzado's place in Hollywood all the time. We would go out there. And all of a sudden, I'm getting in trouble because girls are hitting on us and all that. And he knows I'm married to Christina. So he's just like this. He would just break it up immediately. And he goes, no one's talking to this guy. You're out. He's married to the best woman in the world, and he would just run them on. They would just look. They would just look like this. They would just he would protect her. You know what I mean? All these kind of things, and that would just shut me down, obviously. It was like he was like that. It was the same thing with me. I mean, it was like if anything was going to happen, we were back to back in a fight, literally back to back. We were back to back in a fight. Whatever it would be, he was always there, and he always wanted to, protect us and be that person there. So he had just this incredible warm heart, and you could see it, and a very emotional guy as well. Which sometimes didn't help him. Obviously in certain situations, but that's the kind of guy Mike was. Huge heart, really respected people that would deserve respect and that were part of his orbit. And just wonderful that way. And that's the way I will always remember him, as a strong son that really cared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He hung out with Tanya and I when I was, Tanya lived with me for a year. We were engaged.
Yeah.
And,
you missed that one.
Yeah. And it's, it's a heartbreak that she passed away too.
Yeah, it was.
Don't even go there. Cause
But Mike would always do whatever she needed. He was so respectful to her.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful
By the way, Rick, I would have too. So just so you know.
Everybody wanted to do stuff.
Who didn't have a crush on Tanya? Who didn't have a crush on her?
She was beautiful. She was beautiful and had a beautiful body.
Everything about her was great.
Yeah. But Mike was really cool with that. Mike was anything she needed, he would help her with. He was a cool guy, man. And I'm so glad we're getting to give him some love and respect and tell the world about his energy and what kind of a person he was. Listen, none of us are perfect, okay? We all have our own opinions, and we have to also respect people for their opinion. And that's the problem we have with this social media bullshit. Mm-hmm. If you don't agree with the way one person's thinking, he thinks you're an asshole.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to have your own opinion.
Right.
And that's what's really funny. And Mike and I, we would argue about stuff because I would have my own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So certain things we would get into, I would be like, nah, you don't need to do that. Listen, he would fight anybody.
Oh, no question.
He would fight anybody. He was a tough kid.
Now, when he was in the gym training with you guys, were there confrontations? I mean, would he take people on?
Sometimes, sure. There's sometimes, yep.
Most people back down. Most people would back down. I mean, there was a fight between. You remember Jeff, the African-American guy, did some part-time movie stuff, but he was always hanging out. Jeff, I think he might have died recently too. I forget.
Oh, God.
But he got in a fight with this guy that was hitting on him.
Oh, Jeff Henry.
Yes.
He died. He was a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he got in a fight with this guy.
That's
and
right.
Mike and I are working out right next to him. And Jeff just hit this guy, just split his face up. Mike actually had to pick up Jeff and hold him down like this and carry him out of the gym, to be able to shut him down. So we're out there trying to calm him down because this guy's laying on the floor in there.
He was dieting for a show. We were both getting ready for, I think, it was either Mr. Los Angeles or Mr. California, and he was getting ready for the show, and the guy kept following him and talking shit to him. I don't know why, but Jeff was a tough dude. Yeah. Jeff was another guy who was so cool.
Oh,
Jeff
so you were
so cool.
Yeah. That was Mike.
There's a different world back then. Now when there was fights in the gym and stuff.
Guys brought guns into the gym. Remember when Michael Morrow brought the gun in there?
That's right.
Mike was my first training partner when I moved to Venice.
Oh, really?
And I'm going, okay, I got a wacko here, So
I remember when Lyle. You remember when Lyle got in the fight with the two Barbarian brothers?
I heard about that.
Are you kidding me? And took them both out.
Yeah.
I was not there. I was on the road back then. Derek obviously was there and everything else. But I go, I don't care how big you are. You don't screw around with a DE out of football because they know how to move mass in a whole different way than you do, buddy. I got news.
What was the story on that? Were the barbarians in his house or something? They had a party when.
No, it was in the gym. It was in the gym.
Oh, okay.
No, it happened in the gym, but it happened. I think he was letting the brothers live in his guest house.
Right.
Because he had a big house with a guest house. And apparently, I don't know all the facts, but something happened where they didn't take care of it.
Yeah.
And so they got into something, and Lyle threw him right out the door. I mean, both of them. It was amazing. Yeah. Lyle Alzado was also one of the toughest dudes.
Yeah.
That's another dude. When I tore my pec, he took me to the hospital.
Really?
Lyle and I we developed such a good friendship. That's another guy. When you were in the inner circle with him, he would do anything for you.
Yeah.
Sure.
He took me to the hospital when I tore my pec. They wouldn't touch me because I didn't have insurance.
Yeah.
So what did he do? He took me to the Raiders doctor.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Listen, Lyle was an amazing guy too. I mean, it's amazing how many people we can mention.
Yeah,
of course. Neal and I, when you were at Gold's Gym throughout the 80s and 90s, it was really an amazing place to train.
The best time. Best times.
It wasn't just the best bodybuilders. It was the most amazing wrestlers, the actors, the rock stars.
Football players.
Football, baseball, basketball, hockey players.
Hockey.
Yeah.
Cheerleaders. The LA cheerleaders were all in there.
Playboy girls were there.
I got to train them all. I'm trying to do their nutrition programs for them. Yeah. What's her name? Who's that? The famous one that went off and became a good singer. I forget. I don't want to divert from Mike. So we're going to go on forever if we keep talking about goals. So let's stop there.
You're right.
Right.
Yeah.
So when Mike was dieting, that's when he would get a little bit crazy, right?
Very.
Yeah.
Very irritable. Very irritable.
Yeah.
Well, who doesn't when they get? Listen, we had, as you know, John, you competed also like all of us. I mean, when you're dieting, the first thing you tell your girlfriend, you're out for the next 4 weeks because something really, really bad is going to happen here. So you're out. So, and then you always made sure of that. And and they could show up at the contest and root for you, but there's no way you're going to be around me the last 4 weeks because it's not going to be good. It's not going to be pretty. Yeah. So I don't care who you are, but Mike, of course, got a little worse.
Was Mike like more endomorphic? Did he have a hard time getting ripped? I mean, you would know this, Neal, because you helped him with his nutrition, right?
The hard time for him was really sticking to something.
Okay.
Mike did have a little issue with alcohol, and so he would like sneak out and add a little of that here and there when he was supposed to be on a diet.
Right.
And that's what killed him there. Otherwise, it's the same thing for everybody. It's just being able to stick to something that you hate, and unfortunately, that was really what hurt him on that. Otherwise, he'd be like anybody else, be able to lose the body fat. I mean, when I work with Flex for all the Arnold Classics, I mean, that just shows up right there. You just stick with it because he would never drink or do anything, when it came to anything beyond that. But Mike, you never knew. He would tell you, I only had my 2,000 calories today. He probably had 2,000 alcohol along with something else, or maybe on that day. I'm not saying he'd always did it, but every once in a while he would go off the rails. Yeah. And I always knew it. Like I could just look at him and see it, so.
Well, I heard stories about when he did the first Olympia in '88, because nobody had him pegged for the top 10. And exactly. I heard like 2 months before the show, he was 250, huge, but like fat, bulked up and fat. And then he shows up at the show at 204, shredded, and he makes top 6. So he must have killed himself for those 2 months before the show.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. So I didn't know him then. I didn't work with him then, so I couldn't answer that one for you. But that was the beginning of it with him. That's why he wanted to move to Venice, because he thought that was the beginning of his trajectory. Now he's in a different place now, right? Yeah. And because he was such a character, to Rick's point, he was such a character. He became way more famous than anybody else at that sort of level, if you will.
Yeah.
And they were doing clothing lines around him. He was getting all this attention, all the covers from magazines. Everything was happening there because he had this bad boy attitude, along with a fan following that was just second to none.
That's right.
More than any of the guys above him. And because he was a character, and I think that's what it got one. And that kind of got to him a little bit. And that kind of got, that's where he kind of went a little bit. And then, of course, the sister dying and all that.
This year with preparing for the show, emotionally was the hardest show I've ever prepared for in my life. 4 months ago, my little sister died, and probably was the most devastating thing that ever happened in my life. And it took actually the field, the people in the field were really what brought me back. I mean, the support I got from just the people in the sport to keep going on. You know, I didn't even want to train anymore. So mainly I'm doing this in memory of her, and wherever she is, I want to know how much I loved her.
Really put him into a different place in his life, and he wasn't able to handle the celebrity. He took it. He wasn't. That's when he was living with me. Yeah. And he wasn't able to have. They brought all the clothing line. All these people brought the clothing line to my place in Venice. And here's what we're going to do. And they're bringing all these samples and all this. And he's like a deer in headlights at that point, and does not really didn't know how to handle any kind of from a business standpoint. And then, God, am I really that famous? I mean, he was really kind of that. He was very humble that way. As much as you wouldn't think that, because he's a tough guy, sticking his chest out or whatever it is, he was very humble when it came to his success. And then it just got him. And then he really didn't handle it well.
Yeah, that was a different time in bodybuilding. Obviously, that was before social media, it was before computers, but the magazines were the big thing. And like you said, Mike was a huge influence on the magazines because
absolutely
he not only had that persona, that bad boy persona, and he had a great physique, but he also gave great interviews. Every interview he gave, he was like completely open and talked about everything. There was no filter with him at all.
Absolutely.
We did several photo shoots together for Weeder, for Gold's Gym. We did a lot of magazine stuff together. And that one, the photographer, Mike, what's his last name?
Nephew?
That shot him with the pool table. I went with him.
Mike Nephew.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a cover. That's a cover.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah. What year did you meet him?
Oh, I met him in probably 84.
Oh, really?
Wasn't he, John, you would know this since you're such an aficionado on those. Wasn't he in the 85 USA in Vegas, Mike, and didn't place?
Yeah, it was
because I placed fifth. I got the last trophy. For being second and third, I got the last trophy in that one there. Mike went home to have a pizza. He didn't even make the night show.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah. So I remember talking to him backstage then at that point too. Yeah.
Then I think he kind of came back in 86 and he got fourth at the Nationals that Stridham won. And then Rick knows he won the USA the next year in 87.
Right.
Yeah. 87. Yep.
So you were training with them that year.
I came in 8. There's a point where you got to go, I'm getting better, but I'm going backwards in the placing. And I go, okay. So in 1990, I go, okay, it's time. Yeah. After 16, 17 years of trying to be Mr. Olympia.
Yeah. I want to talk about his posing too, because the guys back then were great posers. I look at the tapes now, like even, Lee Haney was a great poser.
Sean Ray.
Yeah, Sean Ray. Rich Gaspari was a great poser.
Yeah.
But Mike, like you said, Rick, Mike was using pop music or rock music.
Rock and roll.
Yeah. And I think he was one of the first ones to do like mixes, right? We
mixed it. Exactly.
Yeah. You were mixing that with
the music.
Right? Yeah. Was that your idea to do that?
Yeah. I did it for Robbie too. We mixed music. Yeah. So you would hit so many different poses to the rock and roll or something, and then you could switch it to something else.
Right.
It was really fun.
USA massiivinen Mike Quinn. Painopumpuksessa 89 kiloa. Mikehan joutui karsiutumaan uudestaan ammattilaiseksi ja teki sen 87 mestaruudessa kisoissa voittamalla yleismestaruuden. Tuli 5. ammattilaisten MM-kisoissa. Mike panee vähän paukkia 6000 päissään yleisöön. Mutta se tempaa olla kokeita sohjelmalaisen. I'll be back.
Posing, listen, when we competed, what was so important was peaking. Obviously, you wanted to peak that night, but also your posing routine had to be really good.
Yeah.
And in today's world, I don't want to judge anybody, but it seems very rare that these new bodybuilders actually peak.
Yeah.
And are shredded, where their waist is small. They got beautiful shape to where it's like art. It's no longer like art. It's just different. And their posing routines. I went to a show in Vegas for the Olympia.
Mhm.
These guys came out, and before they even hit a pose, they went like this.
Yeah.
They wanted applauses. I'm like, they hit a thing, then they'd walk over, hit another thing. No posing routine at all. And I just sat there and I was like, I must really be an old school guy.
Yeah.
Because I understand we all like what we like. And this new generation is different, man. It's different.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing, Rick, that you mentioned that Olympia, because I went to the Olympia. No, I didn't go there, but I watched it. I can't remember one routine or one piece of music from that contest. It was 6 months ago. But I can remember going back to the 80s, what posing song they did, what the routine was. I mean, that's
because it was so entertaining.
Yeah,
Listen, even if the people weren't into bodybuilding, they still watched it and was like, wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It was fun. That's when bodybuilding was art.
Yeah.
It's just different now.
Yeah.
Michael Quinn.
Well, so my note on posing, John and Rick, is I hated it. I hated posing.
Oh, really?
I loved going to the gym and lifting heavy shit.
Yeah.
And then my body started blowing up, so I became a bodybuilder. But I hated it, and I hated practicing it. I hated everything. I had Ed Corney help me, and so I swear to God, and he goes, "You're a lost cause, Neal."
He was a great poser.
I swear to God, he was great. Well, he was obviously the man in the beginning. He was like the beginning of the poetic posing was Ed Corney. So he lived with me in San Jose. So I just go, yeah, okay. He worked with me, and I just hated every minute. I hated every time going there and working, posing with them. Never liked it. So I was never a great poser. But I will tell you this: I do have bragging rights. The 82 USA. I came out, and no one had ever posed to heavy metal before. I came out to AC/DC's Hell's Bells.
Wow.
The place went nuts. It went nuts. So no matter how bad I was, and I actually fell. I was doing a back like this, and I started wobbling on the stage. That's how bad I was. Okay? The place still went nuts because of Hell's Bells AC/DC. Anyway.
That's what it was. It was the good music. Like they used music that you would remember.
It was. It's absolutely.
And the audience respond. I help a few people out here in Tampa with their posing. And they'll come to me with it. This is what I picked for my music. And it's like some instrumental song. I never even heard of it. I go, what is this? You know, you got to use something that's going to get the audience going, you know? Right. It's such a integral part of a posing routine, right?
I totally agree. Yeah.
Neal, when you worked with Mike, I always wanted to ask you this, because that 90 Olympia was the only one that was drug tested. And I went to it. It was in Chicago where I live. And you could tell a lot of the guys looked terrible. Like they were really clean. Some of the guys looked close to what they were. Some guys, there was like a couple guys that almost looked better than what they ever were before. but Mike looked like he was really clean. Did he tell you like what he was doing or what he wasn't doing?
Yeah, I knew exactly what he was doing, and only because I have to kind of know that. And he was working with a guy that knew how to mask everything, but the dosages still had to be down.
Yeah,
and of course, water-based, so it gets out during the test, and he passed the test. But you could see if he was on the real deal stuff, it would have been another world for sure. Right. So he suffered. He suffered by doing the right thing, so he could pass certainly the drug test. But there was not a single clean person up there. They just had whoever had the better scientist is the one that ended up, looking okay and not losing that much. But I could just see it because I know what it looks like when you're on stuff and you're eating and you're working like that on the full boat. It's like, look at the bodybuilders today. And that's enough said right there.
Yeah.
So Mike suffered from that, but he was probably cleaner than almost anybody up there because he actually turned out that the guy was getting, the stuff was so watered down that it was basically doing nothing.
Yeah, that's what it almost looked like. Because I saw a video of you guys training in the gym before that contest, and I think he was using like 100-pound dumbbells for the inclines, but it looked heavy, where I don't think that ever would have been heavy from before.
That's for sure. Yeah.
No pain, 1 week, no pain.
Mike very well this last few months. What word, one adjective, would you use if you had to use just one word for Mike?
Intense. I don't have to think about that at all. Yeah, the word intense. Mike, you look up the word intense in the dictionary, his picture's next to it.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. There's nobody like that. And that combination with his sensitivity and his emotions and that type of thing, he's a time bomb. But Christine and I have been a real stabilizing factor for him. It's made a big difference in a lot of things he does. But he'll always be intense. That's why he is where he is. That's why he's Mike Quinn.
I think the one people misinterpret intensity and they associate it with arrogance, I'm not an arrogant person. It's just when I'm in the gym and I'm doing what I do, I'm a real focused person, and it may appear like to people like I'm some kind of asshole. I'm not, because I feel that if you're trying to be the elite in something, being elite also, there's a psychological thing that in your mind you have to know. My dad trained me for my first 4 shows. And when he was bringing me up training, he said, if you want to be the best, you have to train the hardest. 1 week, wreck some people, 1 week. Come on. Come on. Get up. Get up. Come on. Destroy some people. Come on, 1 more week. Go after everybody. Come on, going after everybody this year. Come on. Come on, no pain. Come on, no pain. Come on. No pain. Come on, stretch it out. Come on, Neal. There's a certain mystery about aggression. People are afraid of aggression, but they're drawn to me. No matter how afraid they are of Mike Quinn, there's still something about me that like, wow, there's a certain energy there. My goal was that even when I go on stage now, it's like, I go out there, okay, I'm there to compete, but I go out there for the fans, If they go off and I make them crazy, I did my job. I mean, last year in Rimini, I wasn't even in my best shape, and man, I got a standing ovation. Even though I get people upset I create controversy because controversy is exciting, and another thing, controversy motivates myself. I mean, this year I attacked Haney. You know, I didn't do it out of disrespect for Lee Haney. I did it out of the fact that I needed to motivate myself and for me to be at my best. I think you're seeing all the competitors being in top shape because, you know, I piss people off. I think I make people be at their best. I think this year at the Olympia, you're going to see the top 5 guys be at their absolute best condition. And I think I had a great deal to do with that this year. Yeah. Crush it. Yeah. Come on, Neal. Sweet. Crush it. Elbows. Come on. Watch me. Choke. Come on, baby. Up. Come on, baby. Up. Give me another one. Come on, baby. Come on. Up. Good boy. Watch out. Watch me close because it's good. You tell me you want me to kick in the elbow. Yeah. Just tell me what. Whenever you want. Be careful, dude. Nice and tight. Just watch me close because it's pretty right. Come on, baby. No pain. No pain. Come on. No pain. Tight. No pain. Baddest in the world. Rock it. Let's start. Tell me when you want me. Get up. Okay, boy. Let's go. Time to go. Walk it. Get up. Walk in. Tight with elbows up. Get it. Come on, baby. No pain. One more. No pain. Bitch. Oh, that felt heavy. No shit. Oh my God. Oh, that was heavy. I'm very competitive. Don't ever challenge me in something. Because, you know, it'd be like, I'm like a pit bull, you know what I mean? You could knock me out, but you better not be standing around when I wake up. Because I'm going to come at you like an animal. I'm ready. You're ready. Tired. A little bit. Brought my body weight way down this year. Like in '88, right now I weigh 204. So, I start to eat a little bit, but this year more concerned with symmetry because that's where it seems to be beaten. I brought my arms down 1 inch this year, my waist down 2 inches, and I brought my quads up 2 inches, my calves up 1 inch. So I'll have a better appearance of being more symmetrical because I always seem to get beaten by the smaller guys who are more symmetrical. So this year I'm trying to give them off of what they want. So I've been doing nutrition analysis now for a year with Neal, which we have here at the gym, and I'm the pro that represents the line. What it is I'm figuring out what your oxidative rate is for your body, what your body utilizes most efficiently, whether it be protein, carbohydrates, or fat. Now what we've come to figure out is my body utilizes a high protein diet, low carbs, and I can stay my biggest at that. And I'll let Neal explain the whole system of what I do a little bit. I've lived with him now for 3 months with him and his wife, and more or less.
That's Christina.
Yeah, more or less told me what I can eat and what I can't eat, and really watched over me, which is very important for an athlete to have a very strange support system. So I've been very fortunate this year, and I think I will be at my best this year because of it.
Neal, what methods do you use then to assess all of the things that you need to look like? You know, fat levels, the nutrients that he needs.
Right. Well, we used to use blood tests and find out exactly what the pH balance was. We found that by using blood tests, if somebody was eating wrong for their oxidative type, that would throw it off. So through a questionnaire on cravings and questions about the autonomic nervous system, very detailed, and of course body fat tests and so forth, we've been able to establish their oxidative type from that, whether it be fast, slow, or mid. And Mike is unusual being a fast oxidizer. Most athletes are mid, slows, and slows, such as Rich Gaspari, Mike Christian. They're all mid, slows, and that type of thing. But Mike's diet, turning it around, doing it the way he set it up on a high protein diet and very low carbohydrates for him, he's able to keep his muscle through his diet. Where most people lose a lot of tissue, Mike stays big with that, and of course he's able to get all the body fat off and keep all the muscle at that time. Mike tends to attribute a lot of his success to other people and so forth. I'm going to tell you that there's nobody like Mike Quinn. He's the most intense human being there is. His symmetry is due to his training, the way he trains, and everything else. You know, as far as diet go, I just give him that little edge that will keep him over the rest of everybody else. Very, very very unusual mentality.
So, do you think you found the absolute right balance for Mike now?
Well, there's no question we found the right balance for him as far as nutrients go, but when it comes to honing in for a competition, I don't care who you are or what you are, it's going to take you 3 or 4 tries to get it all the way down to. However, he'll be far and away the best shape of his life ever for this show. But I'll tell you what, the next show and the show after, he will be that much better always. Once you discover a certain person's specifics, which we have now, believe me, these last couple of weeks have been pretty trying for both of us, then you're really able to put it together for the next one and the next one. However, just like I say, he'll be 100 times better than he's ever been in his life. It'll be very tough to beat.
I'm not as gifted as some people, like they're just so genetically gifted. You know, even though I do have good genetics, I've worked very, very hard on my genetics to develop them to the standard I'm at. But even if you see me now, I've been training now 15 years. I still train real hard in the gym because when people come into the gym, I want them to know, you know, if you are one of the best in the world, which means you train one of the hardest in the world. That's why sometimes I have a lot of disrespect for my competitors because I don't think they're representing the sport as us being the elite. You know, I see amateurs coming to the gym training harder than the pros. That upsets me a little bit. I think it prevents our sport from growing because we don't look like, you know, I think that's how I established my name as like Mighty Mike Quinn because I'm always pushing my limitations, and I think that makes me also become a role model for kids coming up. Wow, you know, he got there through hard work. I mean, I didn't get here like no easy road for me, you know.
And his upper body looked great. It's just he lost the legs, you know, toward the end.
Yeah, he lost the legs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Rick, what was it like training with Mike? I mean, with these as intense as I would think.
Oh yeah, no, you had to step up and you had to go heavy.
Yeah,
and you had to do force reps, and you know you had to keep going. It was great. Listen, there's very few people right now that train like that. I mean, very few. I mean, I go to Golds all the time, and everybody's looking at their cell phones. I mean, it's all about It's all about, you know, taking pictures of yourself.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy about this new social media stuff? I'm just not one of those guys. I always thought if you were really good at something, let other people say it.
Yeah.
But all these guys are saying, I'm a legend, I'm a superstar, I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, really? I don't know. Yeah, I'm an old school guy. That's not what I do. But hey, if they want to do it, they have the right. They have the right to do it.
Yeah.
It's just when they're training and in between sets, they're looking at their phones for 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You go over and you go, excuse me, can I jump in? They go, no. I go, okay, well, how many sets do you have? 5. So I just walk away and shake my head because I can't.
Well, that's awful nice of you. I don't listen. If I back in the day when I walked in when I was a bodybuilder, I mean, I'm in Venice. I don't care what gym, and if someone finishes their set, I just jump in.
I know. Well, back then,
I'm going to work in. I'm going to work in with you, okay, buddy?
Back in the day, back in the 80s, people wanted you wanted to jump in, and then you compete against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do that. They don't know what that means.
Move over, buddy. Move over. I'm going to work. I'm doing the next set here. Okay.
Right.
Lou Ferrigno was like that. I love.
Oh yeah.
He would come in, and if you're using the bench he wants, he goes, move down. Okay.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, the first hardcore gym I went to, I was on a machine or a bench or something. Some big power lifter came in and he goes, all right, you're done. We're using that bench. I was like, you're done. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm out.
Yeah, it's a different world for sure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know what it means to work in with you anymore. And I like when you ask them like how many sets they got, and they go, I just started. Like they have no idea what they're doing.
There's no more gym etiquette. Back then in the gym, it was a rule almost. If someone wants to train with you, you don't own that piece of equipment you're using.
That's right.
You're just using it. So if someone wants to use it too, you have to let them.
Yeah.
And back in the 80s and 90s, you want to jump in? Come on. Because we'd start competing against each other.
Yeah.
It made it even more fun.
And you said it just right. It was gym etiquette, just like there's golf etiquette, just like there's all a street basketball. You know, I lived in Venice and I played pickup basketball all the time. There's etiquette. Now we got in fights every day, but there's etiquette even about the fights.
Right. Right.
And back then, even today, I still do it. I put dumbbells back. I put the equipment back. Yeah. I'll take the plates off of the machine.
All the plates off. Yep.
You know, nobody does it.
Yeah. And by the way, I do it in my own gym. My boys don't. So, but I do it in my own.
Yeah. Rick, what
Well,
was
let's keep this on Mike.
Yeah.
And let's say to Mike, listen, Mike, we love you, we miss you, and we'll see you on the other side. And when I do, I know you'll have some very cool clubs that we can go to, and I know you'll have a great gym we can train at.
Sure.
So just keep looking down at us and keeping us in a nice, positive place. And we will miss you, brother. We will definitely miss you.
Yeah, I know
Mike
had a lot of problems. He had some substance abuse problems. He had a lot of ups and downs in his life. But I mean, the reason I wanted to talk to you guys and kind of talk about the positive aspects of Mike's life was, just like me being a fan, what I responded to was when he was on stage, he was so energetic. You could tell he had passion for the sport.
That's right.
About him training, and he was just, whatever his problems were outside with substance abuse or whatever, he really had a passion for bodybuilding. He was an old school bodybuilder, and that's what I really liked about him. That's why I was a big fan of his.
Yeah,
and he came from a football background in high school. He was a very good linebacker in high
That's
school.
right.
He shattered his arm.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah,
and that's what took him out of that. And then he got into bodybuilding. Not like a lot of us. Like I played football, was a good football player, and I got into bodybuilding. That was the segue, into all that. But so he was an athlete.
Yeah. Rick, what was it like when you were hanging with him for the '87 USA? Because that was his first big win. Because for those that know Mike's history, he won the NAVA Universe back in '84. But then when he wanted to come over to the IFBB, they wouldn't let him just go into the IFBB. He had to start from the bottom.
I know. Yeah, but he did the right thing every time. Came, trained. Every time he said he was going to show up, he did.
Yeah.
And a month before the shows, that's when we started working on posing. We started working on posing routines, music. And then when you do that for a couple of weeks, I mean, getting on stage is so happy. You're happy. You're normal. You feel so great. You're not nervous.
Yeah.
So he hit it off, and that was probably one of his best shows. He looked amazing.
Yeah.
His back was shredded. His legs were cut. his biceps peaked. I mean,
Yeah.
he was in great shape. And his posing routine tore the house down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that was a tough show.
It was a tough show. There were a lot of good guys there.
And back then, you had to win the whole thing. You had to win the
That's
whole
right.
thing. You had to win
He
the
did.
overall pro.
He
Yeah.
did.
And that was the one that Jim Quinn was in, right?
Yeah.
Also, did he
Yeah.
want to have? Yeah.
And Johnny Morant.
Johnny Morant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget Neal Spruce. You just don't remember me because I think I was 8th or 7th or something in that one. Yeah, he really shone in that. He was shining in that one for sure.
Yeah. We were blessed to have a friendship with him.
For sure.
Sure. We really were, bro.
Yeah. And last time I talked to him, last time you talked to him, I talked to him about, I think it was a year and a half, 2 years. He was going through some serious health problems and we had connected. And I showed him because he, back when he bought me like these cowboy boots from that boot place on Main Street for my birthday. And my wife went down there and he bought these really cool ones with a couple of a buckle and a gold tip on the front and so forth. So I was wearing them that night and we had just connected. It was just a total coincidence, And I go, Mike, I'm wearing the boots that you got me for my birthday, back in 89 or 90, whenever it was. And that's the last time I talked to him. That was about 2 years ago, I think. We stayed in touch on email a little while and then he dropped off on that too.
I talked to him because I told him I was going to put him in my book because I talked about certain people I got, I got to train with at Gold's Gym.
Yeah.
And I talk about, getting ready. I said, is there anything you want to say? He goes, I want to make sure you say that I am so grateful that I got to work with you for posing routine,
awesome.
music. Good. And I was like, wow. And it told me he had some health issues too. And I told him, God bless you, take care. You're going to be all right. But
how
I
long
don't
ago was
know
that?
what really happened, but
how long ago was that?
About maybe a year ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, you're more recent than me. I'm a good 2, and it could even be 3. I know exactly where I was though when I was talking to him. So I called to Christina. I'm at the ranch on the back area there, and I called to Christina. I got Mike on the phone. So that was it. So we had the speaker, and we talked on. That was about between 2 and 3 years ago, I think. Last time I talked to him. Yeah.
I don't think I spoke to him for at least 6 years. I had him on my podcast a couple times. But I think that was like 7, 8 years ago. So I hadn't and I didn't see him on social media. So I was wondering what he was doing or what was going on.
Well, his health problem started about 10 years ago, according to him. When I talked to him, it started at that point. Where he's having
I think it started with a back surgery, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he was getting, some digital issues, obviously, with it's a type of diabetes that, he's getting neuropathy through all different parts of the body and so forth at that point. So we were talking about that. But
Mike had diabetes?
He had a form of it where you get to a point where you're ending up with a neuropathy where you're not getting enough blood to the end parts of the body, and so forth. Kind of going on, which is not uncommon for, unfortunately, bodybuilders that have been users for a while.
Yeah,
and on top of that, other stuff. Yeah.
I think Matt Mendenhall had a really bad back surgery too. I think that might.
That's right.
What took him out?
Yeah.
We lost Matt about 2 years ago too.
Yeah, I know. Along with Billy Smith and a bunch of other ones there as well.
Yeah.
So any last things that we should talk about Mike, or anything else that John, that you would like to
what was it like to live with Mike when you lived with him for a year?
It was very comfortable. I didn't think it would be as well as it was, but again, the fact that the last few months, dieting for a show, even though he would sneak out at night once in a while, I could hear him going out at night, so I knew something bad was going to happen. And I would try to follow him every once in a while, but he was really good. Like I said, respectful. He loved my wife. I mean, they were, and the fact that Christina, who's very, very conservative, very sort of protective of, everything, and very private, as because you met her before, Rick, and she accepted him into her world, and he became family, and he acted like family. He was perfect. He was a very, very good house guest for that time. Loved every minute of it. I loved it all.
Yeah, as wild as he might have been, or what his image said he was, I mean, he always seemed to me like an old school guy who had respect, and he grew up in a family. Family was important to him.
Oh yeah, he loved his mom and dad and his family members. I mean, he really did, because we would always send our mom and dad presents for Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas.
Yeah.
And we would always talk about that. What are you going to get them? What are you going to? And, you know, I really enjoyed that, because it's just respect.
Yeah.
When you show your parents how much you really love them and respect them, I mean, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this about Mike, John, and Rick. I remember him telling me that when he goes home to Boston, or, you know, in Mass there, he would work out with his dad. I go,
yeah.
I never even thought about that, because I never had a dad. And so I'm going, a dad that works out with the son, you know? And I go, so I went there one night. I spent the night there and slept in the basement. But I'm just going, I couldn't believe, I go, God, I got a dad that works out with his son. How cool is that?
Yeah. No, his dad's a tough dude too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
His dad is what got him started training, I think, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that always came across in all his interviews. I could just tell he had a respect. You know, he had respect. You know, like you said, Rick, he respected older people, respected people above him. You know, and as wild and crazy as he might have been, he always had that, and that's what I liked about him.
That's right.
Hi, I'm Sean Ray. I'm backstage with Mike Quinn after his impressive 5th placing. Mike, how do you feel?
Okay.
Okay. You made a lot of improvements since your last contest. What do you think you need to work on to get in the winner's circle this time?
I wasn't sharp enough. I'm experimenting a little bit with sodium loading, and I made a major mistake competing for the show. But on the Pro World next week, I'll do a little different. I'm going to drop about, I think I need to drop about 5 more pounds.
You were by far the biggest competitor up there next to Mike Christian. What did you weigh in tonight?
About 225.
Are you planning on going on to the Pro World in Columbus, Ohio next week?
Yeah, because I want to place in the top 5 so I can qualify for the Olympia. It's a must for me because I didn't place in the top 3 tonight.
Great. So what is your strategy for next week to get placed higher?
I'm not going to sodium load. I just have to be a little sharper. When I'm sharp, I can compete against anybody. I think the name of the game now in the sport is, if there was the biggest guy would win, as you know, you come in very hard and, you know, you're not a gigantic person, but on stage you appear to be.
Right.
It's the illusion. I think if I don't come in very, very sharp, I lose that sense of illusion, and somebody maybe 20 pounds lighter than me can appear bigger than me.
What do you think about the competition tonight? Do you think it was the placings were adequate? Do you think they were fair and that's the way it should have come out?
No.
What's your opinion?
I feel Robbie Robinson should have won this show. If you're going to judge on symmetry and balance in the way we're supposed to be judged, I feel that Mike won, but I feel Robbie Robinson should have won. I maybe should have been a little higher.
Okay.
Maybe third or fourth, but I'm happy with my placings. I'm not putting the sport down.
Well, I know that you and Robbie Robinson trained together down at Gold's Gym, Santa Monica. What do you think he's got to do to get into the winner's circle after his 3rd placing tonight?
I don't know, Sean. They seem to be pretty hard on us. You know, they pick us apart. They want us to pose a little better. You know, they complain about my legs not being any bigger. You know, and I improve every year. But I think it's so subjective that you don't really have a control over it. I think the best thing I can do is be a people's champion. You know, come support the sport, be a good ambassador, and make a name for myself. I got my own identity, so.
And you're definitely doing that. We wish you continued success and good luck next week.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
You know, so he was that guy. Yeah.
No, he would talk shit to anybody who got on him.
That's right. Yeah.
Rick, were you training with him for any of the Olympias he did, like 88, 89?
The Olympia, well, I think he was training with Robbie Robinson then.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was training with Robbie in 88.
He was training with Robbie, and they both look great. Robbie's an amazing guy too. I mean, he's what, 76?
Yeah.
And he's shredded right now, and he trains hard and heavy. He's never been injured. He's a freak of nature.
Crazy.
Man.
He is. Yeah, he's a legend.
Genetic freak for sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well,
thank you.
I'm glad I had you guys on because I really wanted to get 2 people who knew Mike well. And like I said, I always had a lot of respect for Mike. He was an inspiration to me when I was a kid. And I know he went through some hard times, but he brought so much energy and so much joy to the sport. Like you said, Rick, when he's gone, what are we going to remember? And we're going to remember him for all the energy and all the joy he brought to bodybuilding. And he was a really exciting figure during his time. So he definitely left his mark, and I'll never forget him. And so I'm glad we were able to reminisce about him a little bit and bring some positivity to what he brought to the sport.
Thank you.
Agreed. Yeah. Thanks for putting this together, John, because, he was special without a doubt. I think to your point, Rick, and you notice all the outpouring, coming on to Facebook and all through social media about someone that was not nearly as big as some of the other guys, but it looks like, like a president of the United States died, one of those things. So it speaks volumes about, what he did bring to this sport, and the fact that young people still admire him, his physique, his character, so many of those things. So I'm really glad, John, that you put this together, all the way around, and appreciate the fact. I'm honored to be on here to be able to help salute Mike and, and wish, just hopefully everything just kind of works out. And I think Rick, people to help out with the family there and everything else.
I'll put that link on the bottom of this meeting too. So
great.
We'll
do that.
Okay. Yeah, but you're right, Neal. I mean, I saw a lot of stuff from people who said, I met Mike here, I met Mike there, I met him at a gym, I met him at a contest. And when I first met him, the first time I ever met him, I admired him in the magazines for many years. But it was at the 1990 Ironman Pro that was in Redondo Beach. And I was in California, like I'm visiting on vacation, and they had the contest that weekend. So I went and saw it. And Mike was in the lobby, and I was a little bit like, should I go over there? I heard this guy's a badass, but he was the coolest dude, and he was so down to earth and so cool. And it's amazing when you meet someone that you admire like that, and they take the time to be cool with you, even if it's for like 5 minutes. You'll never forget it. You never forget that for the rest of your life.
That's right.
Yeah. That was Mike, and that's a great way to sort of. And that was Mike right there, John. That was him. Tough guy. But if you came up and as a shy person and went to him, he'd give you everything right there.
Yeah. I remember saying that to myself. I was like, I thought this guy was an asshole, but he's really cool. Yeah. He is not
exactly.
An asshole,
Yeah. Very good. Very good.
All right,
Thank
Neal.
you, guys.
Rick, thank you very much for coming on the show. Good talking to you guys again. And all the best to Mike and to Mike's family and all his friends out there who are still going through the suffering of his passing. So we wish him all the best. But this one's for Mike. And
absolutely. Mike, we salute you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, John. Thanks, Rick.
Okay,
guys.
See you
Take care.
Bye-bye.